You know, every single screen in an iOS app tells a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Today, we're going to dive deep into that story, the UIViewController Lifecycle. And trust me, understanding this isn't just some boring theory. It's the absolute key to building apps that work perfectly, from the second a screen is born to the moment it vanishes.
Come on, be honest. We have all been there. You write a piece of code, you're sure it's right, but when you run the app, the UI is a mess, and animation stutters, or even worse, the whole thing just crashes. And here's the kicker. A lot of the time, the problem isn't what your code is doing, but when it's trying to do it.
And that's exactly where this lifecycle comes in. Think of it as your map, your secret weapon. It's the tool that helps you turn that buggy, unpredictable behavior into a smooth, reliable app, just by helping you put your code in the perfect spot every single time. So let's start at the beginning.
Our story kicks off, like all good stories do, with a birth. This is the creation and loading phase, where our view controller sparks into existence way before the user ever sees a single pixel on their screen.
It all starts with init. At this moment, the view controller object is created in memory, but it's basically just an empty shell. It doesn't have a view, no buttons, no labels, nothing. This is the absolute best time for any setup that doesn't need to touch the UI, like passing in the data it's going to work with.
Right after that, we have loadView. This is where the actual view itself gets created. Now, for most of us who use storyboards or interface builder, this all happens automatically behind the scenes. You'll really only need to get your hands dirty with this one if you're building your entire UI from scratch, right in the code.
And now for probably the most famous method of them all, viewLoad. This is a huge moment. It's called exactly once, and I mean once, right after the view and all its pieces have been loaded into memory. Think of this as your one-and-done configuration stage.
So what kind of stuff belongs here? Well, this is your go-to spot for setting up your UI elements, like putting the text on a label or changing the color of a button. It's also where you'll want to set up your delegates or kick off that first network call to grab the data your screen needs. The golden rule here is simple. If it only needs to happen one time, viewLoad is almost always the right place for it.
All right, so our view controller is born, and its stage is all set. Now we get to the main event. It's active life. This is the dynamic cycle of appearing on the screen and then disappearing again. So the appearing act is really a two-step dance. First, you have viewAppear. This gets called right before the view becomes visible. It's your last chance to make any quick adjustments, like updating a user's profile picture that might have changed. Then after the view is fully on screen and the user can see it, viewDidAppear gets called. This is the perfect place to start a cool animation or a heavy network request because you know for sure the view is there and ready.
And what goes up must come down, right? The same logic applies when the view leaves the screen. viewWillDisappear is called before it's gone. This is where you should save the user's unfinished work or maybe stop a timer that's been running. Then, once it's totally off-screen, viewDidDisappear gets its turn. This is your cleanup spot for things the user definitely doesn't need anymore, like canceling that network request you started.
And like any good story, this one has an end. For a view controller, this ending is all about being a good citizen, cleaning up after itself to make sure the app stays fast, responsive, and doesn't hog a bunch of memory.
Okay, so you might not use this one every day, but it is super important. When the phone is running low on memory, the system basically sends out an SOS by calling didReceiveMemoryWarning. This is your app's chance to help out by dropping anything it doesn't absolutely need, like big image caches, to free up resources and prevent a crash.
And finally, the last stop, init. This is the absolute final method that gets called right before the view controller is wiped from memory for good. It's your last chance saloon for cleaning up anything that could cause a memory leak, like notification observers or timers. It's truly the final bow before the character leaves the stage.
Phew! Okay, we've met all the players. Now let's put it all together and see how they actually work in sequence when you're just tapping around an app.
So when you push a new screen, the lifecycle methods fire off in this exact order. See that clear progression? It's created, its view gets built, its one-time setup runs, it gets ready to appear, and then it's finally visible. Each step builds perfectly on the last one.
And what about when the user taps the back button? The sequence is just as logical. It prepares to disappear, it's confirmed to be gone, and then dInit comes in to do the final cleanup and release all that memory. It's this predictable process that keeps your app feeling lean and efficient. So, what's the big takeaway here? Why does all this matter so much? Because honestly,
Getting this right is the difference between an app that feels clunky and buggy and one that feels smooth, fast, and professional. Placing your code in the right lifecycle method isn't just a suggestion, it's a fundamental skill.
If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. Don't just dump all of your code into viewLoad and call it a day. Every single one of these lifecycle methods has a very specific job to do. Respecting that separation of duties is the absolute key to mastering this whole thing.
So the map is in your hands now. I've got a challenge for you. Open up one of your own projects. Where can you make a change right now based on what we've talked about? Do you have some UI setup in viewAppear that really belongs in viewDidLoad? Or maybe an animation that would be so much smoother if you moved it to viewDidAppear? Go take a look. I bet you'll be surprised at what you find. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.